Hey everybody, what's going on? I'm Rob Cesternino, and I have a podcast talking about Survivor every week, but you're busy, and you just want to know the most important things about each week's show. That's why I'm creating this, the least you need to know about episode 3 of Survivor Blood vs. Water. Oh boy, we had our first quit of Survivor Blood vs. Water this week as Colton Cumbie has quit Survivor for the first or second time. It was unclear as to whether or not Colton quit the first time. I thought he had some sort of medical condition that forced him to leave, but Jeff Probst says it was a quit. So Colton is out of the game. I don't know about you guys, but for me, this was a lot like Brandon Hantz last season when he realized that he was on the outside looking in of the big Stealth R Us alliance last season, and so he decided to be the Arthur of his fate and go out of the game on his own terms. That's what this felt like to me with Colton. Now, I spoke to Colton in my exit interview on Thursday, and what Colton said was the reason why he quit the game was because he wanted his fiance, Caleb, to have a better shot at winning the money, because if Caleb wins, they both win. Either way, whether you buy that or not, I don't like it one bit. I feel like if you quit Survivor, there should be a change to the rules that no matter what happens, if you quit and it's not a medical thing, you should forfeit any prize money that you have, and you shouldn't be allowed to come to the reunion. I think that Survivor has made it too easy for people to walk away from the game. It's kind of like when you play Madden online and somebody is kicking your ass like 58-0 and you just quit the game in the middle. That's not cool, and neither is this. You signed up to play Survivor. The game goes from when you get on the island to when Jeff snuffs your torch. You should not be allowed to quit like this, and there should be repercussions. Now, as for Caleb, I actually think this does help his chances in the game a little bit here. So I think he will go further than he would have had Colton stayed in the game. He doesn't have that liability anymore, and I actually like Caleb to continue to do well on Survivor Blood vs. Water. This week there was some separation anxiety for Tyson as he became separated from both his girlfriend and his shoulder in 1 hour of television. Now, last week I very incorrectly said that I thought that Tyson was going to switch with Rachel. Obviously he did not, and so he will continue on in his game. I think he's in a good position, so I can understand why Rachel didn't want him to take his spot. Now, Rachel is gone, and ultimately I kind of think that this is a good thing for Tyson's game as well. Having your loved one be there in the game, I think it's something that people look at you, oh, they're a threat, there's 2 of them, and it's also a distraction. I think that having your loved one taken away from you allows you to focus on the game more and not have to be distracted with what's best for your loved one. So I actually like that for Tyson's game. Now, on the other shoulder, Tyson is now an injured man. He has gone from somebody who is very dominant in the challenges to somebody at what I would refer to as Cesternino level, perhaps, going forward. Now, I watched a secret scene with Tyson this week where he was talking about the difference in his game now that he's not this challenge dominator. In Tyson's first season, he got voted out on Survivor Tocantins because he was such a big threat in the challenges. Now, people will look at Tyson and see that he is not a threat and actually is kind of a liability in some challenges going forward. And it might be something that in sort of a weird way ends up saving him and helping him go further because people won't get to the merge and say, we got to get rid of Tyson. So I actually feel like after everything that happened to Tyson this week, in some ways I think he's actually more of a threat to win the game. Let's see how bad the shoulder injury and see if he can actually continue to play. And if he can, I think that Tyson could actually go further in the game because of this. And lastly, this September, we said goodbye to one of television's most egotistical anti-heroes and said hello to another one. Yes, Walter White is gone, but Brad Culpepper is here. And hat tip to Jeff Pittman for coming up with Breaking Brad. I love it. Now, much like Walter White, Brad Culpepper is a guy who comes up with all sorts of crazy plans and wants to take out anybody who is a threat to him, as we saw this week as he took out John because he didn't really do a good job of making Brad feel comfortable with him. In the Survivor game, before the merge, you really want to take a look at 2 things when evaluating who you want to vote off. And that is this person going to help us win a challenge, and is this person loyal to me? Now, for some reason, even though John was loyal to Brad felt like he wasn't loyal enough. and he was somebody who was helping them win challenges. So on both counts, this was a bad person to vote out over the two girls that remained on that tribe in Sierra and Katie. For some reason, Brad was afraid that if John got to the merge and if Candace came back from Redemption Island, that John was going to be more loyal to Candace than he was to Brad, which is crazy because every single person on the tribe has family members that they're going to be more loyal to than they're going to be to Brad Culpepper. Brad Culpepper's game this season is like a cross between Boston Rob before he learned how to play the game and Russell Hantz after he lost his mind. So after all that, I'm really looking forward to how this season is going to play out. I'm liking Redemption Island this season. I like how everybody is all there at once. You get to tell anybody you want, F you. I think that's a good thing for my reality television. So I'm interested to see how it's going to play out again this Wednesday. As I mentioned earlier in this recap, I had a chance to talk to both Colton and Rachel in my exit interviews. Those are up on robhasawebsite.com. You could hear those interviews as well as much, much more when you subscribe to my podcast. You go to robhasawebsite.com/iTunes. We'll be back with a whole full slate of shows next week. No Survivor interview podcast this week because my wife and I were very crazy this week. The birth of our son, Dominic, came on Sunday, so we're very excited. He's doing great. Nicole's doing great too. And thanks to everybody who sent warm wishes. We really, really appreciate it. So until next week, now you have everything you need to know because this was the least you needed to know about Survivor Blood versus Water.